Patimo, as you were saying it, I was smiling because you are like transporting me to like 3 decades ago. um, so I actually sort of, how, as Mandy says, we tend to sometimes shape our ideas of careers according to what we are exposed to. And I think what she's saying is so important, that the more exposure you have, the more you have a sense of what is it that connects to your passion. So I just always knew that I wanted to do healing work, but because I was never exposed. 30 years ago, we didn't have psychologists, black psychologists. I was not exposed to it. And even like psychological healing was something that was foreign. So I ended up saying that I wanted to be a doctor. This day I had a big accident. I bled. I went to the hospital and I just knew I will not be a doctor. But it happened that there was a year when there was a strike in South Africa. I mean, we were very active during the struggle. And I didn't go to school that whole year, but I went to a library and I found this book that talked about A to Z careers in our country. And then I got in, and then I read about a clinical psychology. Just something inside me jumped. And I mean, that's why for me, I really emphasize that part of trying to find your career is to know yourself, is to know what excites you, is to know what drives you. Because as Mandy can attest, the more you get into your careers and they get difficult, it is that sense of purpose and meaning that speaks to you. So I bumped into that and it just spoke to me. And interestingly, when I arrived at vets at studying, people said to me, you are good at maths and science, you must do BSc. So I actually left the clinical psychology, but I did both BSc and psychology. And I just remember going to the lab, dissecting frogs. And I was just like, no, this is not me. And because I was driven by purpose, I dropped biochemistry and I pursued psychology. It was new, something that people had not done in the past as far as my community is concerned. And I'm glad I made that decision, but sometimes it's really not easy when you make a career path that the people that are surrounding you, your parents and people around you, are used to it. And that's why that sense of purpose is really critical.
Wow, there was a lot there to unpack. I mean, I am noting because I feel like, I was also, when I went to school, when in my undergrad, people expected me to do something else because you're good at this. Your teachers have always said you're good at this, but it really takes, like you're saying, like understanding yourself to be able to say, no, I actually want to do something else. I know I'm good at this, but I also love this, and I can train myself to be better at this, and I can, something that when school gets hard, at least there's that thing in the back of your mind that says, this is what I want for my life. That vision is driving you. It can carry you through the hard moments. So I think you've also made that's a beautiful entry point for us to talk about how, particularly the work you do, like how wellness and mental health features in this whole discussion. So do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's really important for especially the young people now that are deciding to pursue their careers in South Africa, but I think globally, to have an appreciation of what I call, the psychological architecture of a society. Because if you understand that, you then understand that being successful is pursuing the career, but it is also about working on yourself. I've seen a lot of people who found their careers, but because they didn't prepare themselves psychologically, and then they actually struggle or give up or still do the careers, but they sacrifice themselves. They've got anxiety, they've got depression, and they don't deal with it. So I think for me, what's really important in aligning with this is that as you do the work of pursuing your career, also do the work of working on yourself before you start getting busy in the world of work. Because the reality is the psychological architecture of South African society, and actually I can say now globally because of COVID-19, is that never has it been that, the level of trauma, multi-level traumas from personal to individual to collective that we have been exposed to as a society impacts who we are. This means, therefore, that you are likely to work with difficult people that have just gone through a lot. with difficult bosses. Even yourself, the people around you that are supposed to love you may not have the psychological capacities to support you when things are rough and difficult. And I mean, I'm working more and more with young people who are just, they have their friends, but these friendships are not supporting them. Actually, they are more stressful because everybody is stressed. So one of your most important work is to actually invest in your mental wellness, in making sure that you are okay and developing mental resilience skills, psychological awareness skills, and know that, your mental wellness is just as important as the job that you do.
Sorry, I do have something to add, and I think it's certainly that I've noticed in my extensive career options in terms of going into schools and having a look. Friends do impact friends. So when I go to school visits, they all come around, and it's like almost like a herd mentality. And I think it's really that herd mentality is where when they're in groups, they all want to be doctors or they all want to be lawyers, and no one thinks about themselves as an individual and actually putting their thoughts forward and voicing, actually, I really want to do this, or do something else. And it's really important that in terms of children today, they either all go into a little herd and they all want to do the same thing, which is actually not like that. Everybody's an individual. And also parents want them to become lawyers or engineers. And it's important that we understand what the children want too, and how do we get them there, and how do we get them there successfully.
Okay. So I hear you say when you go into schools, can we talk a bit about like the resources? How do schools contact you to come and talk to the students? What's the process there so that our learners know, when to go when they need, advice and those sorts of things?
Yes. Amazing question. Okay, so there's a few options in terms of what schools can do to actually bring tertiary institutions into the school itself. So one, there is a multiple groups that you get the Rock and Future Roadshow, you get CCEA, and multiple schools come in and they do a full-on expo at your school, where you get about even 20, 30 different types of institutions standing there, and they've got leaflets and they're giving you the knowledge and the tools and the resources to be able to understand what type of offerings are there. But that piece of paper is not enough. So there's a lot of research that has to go in after that. But a lot of the LO teachers invite schools like myself, like Red and Yellow, to come in and do a presentation. And that presentation gives you a little bit more insight on what the programs are all about, what you can learn, and how you can implement that. Does that spark you? Does it not spark you? Does it create interest? Do you want to learn more about it? And if it's yes, then, go to the institution, go to the open days, go and speak to them. There's career advisors at every single institution. Ask them the questions. That's what we're here for. Ask as many questions as you possibly can. But also I feel that schools need to do more workshops in terms of bringing in graphic designers or digital designers or different types of work, employment, different types of job opportunities. They must come in and speak about it. What jobs are entailed. Because I can certainly say this much. When I wanted to be a graphic designer when I was younger, I didn't have anybody to tell me what is graphic design. We just assume that kids know what graphic design is. We actually don't know the ins and outs of that. And then I fell into optometry, studied to become an optometrist, and now I'm landed back into a very creative industry, where graphic design is pretty much my passion. Know a lot more about it, but my growth is to help students know what graphic design is, what is digital design, what is digital marketing, what is a BCom in marketing, all the different types of disciplines that are at offer. What is going to be more of a career option for you, and what jobs are falling away. The movement of the world is happening so quickly and rapidly that we cannot keep up with any type of job role, like what job roles are important. So how do you train a child for a job that does not exist yet?
That is what we will be talking about in our second segment. So I'm really happy that everybody's on the same page. And but like as you're speaking, I got 2 points that I just want to reiterate so that everybody got them. You talked about, considering like many views, like go out there, get the advice. So you're not saying somebody must make the decision for you. Go ask somebody, what do I have to be? What do I want to be? What do I want to do? You are asking for advice. You're seeking clarity. You're just getting insight and input so that at the end of the day, your decision is well informed by the experts, by people who know you, who can say, oh no, but you're interested in that. So don't sit in your small corner and say, I'll just fall into whatever I fall into. I think that's really important to seek advice.
Yes.
Because a lot of the times I know students, they only have access to a teacher. There are no mentors. There are no, it's just you, your teacher, and maybe like your friends, like a very small closed circle of people. So you're not really exposed to a lot of these ideas. And like you're saying, this new career paths and skills. You only know about being a teacher, being a doctor, being a lawyer. So I think those were really great points. So, Sis Nomfundo, with your line of work, you mentioned working with young people. Do they come to you, or how do you take your services to them?
Spademo, I just wanted to just touch some important points from what Mandy has said, and then I will wrap up by what the work that we do. And I just wanted, there's a very powerful statement that just helped me in my career path, I think, by Albert Einstein, when he said that purpose is not invented, it is detected. What that means is that you are deposited inside you with everything that you need to live the life that you need to live. What you need to do is to put yourself in those spaces where, and I like what she said, go and find that information, get advice, and find those things that hook to your purpose, right? Because you detect it. You get into the spaces that excite you and you're like, oh, this is the thing that I want. Which therefore means, for me, there's 3 things that are important to do. Know your why, right? Why are you here? What is your purpose? And in order for you to do that, you need to know yourself, right? What makes me tick? I am unique. There's something I'm here to deposit. That's the thing that makes you alive. And the second thing is know your how. How are you going to do this? Make sure that you invest in your wellness, because you get more connected to yourself when you are mentally okay. If you are not, you do what Mandy had said. You listen to your friends' voices, your parents' voices, and then your career just becomes a job that gets you money and gets a house. And you are much more likely to have high levels of stress when you are not driven by a sense of meaning and purpose in life. And that's what we are finding more in my psychology. And of course, the final one is then the what, which is the career itself. But you need to answer, they need to be combined, right? The why, the how, and then the what, which is the career itself. And most of the time, careers are vehicles towards achieving our jobs, and it's important to get that. So we usually work with clients such as Old Mutual who support the scholars. So they will bring us in, and then through working with them, we will then look at supporting the scholars. We will partner with organizations such as Velle. So that's how we actually do our work. I encourage the people that are listening here to reach out to organizations such as the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, to your Lifeline groups. Velle has got a link of those. And I think I want to close by saying your most important task is to connect to yourself. But if you are too broken, too stressed, too anxious, you have too much anxiety, you get distracted from yourself, because you have everything you need to live this life inside of you. So get help, get support, surround yourself with positive people.
Thank you so much.